here. Seriously, something's gonna freaking.
Hey guys, this is really holy shit. Oh man. Okay. I did not prepare 2 stories. Which one would you like to hear? I have
The first one.
I have one that is about being displaced, like in a wilderness place, and then one that's about community, I guess.
Wilderness.
Good. That's the one. This is actually the story of the first time, the only time I have ever been homesick in my entire life. I was going on a trip to the Boundary Waters in northern Minnesota. This is like you guys are familiar with this, it's between US and Canada, up in Minnesota area, bunch of lakes, lots of lakes. They're connected by small patches of land called portages, and you can traverse them. That's what I was there to do. It was a 2-week trip with the Boy Scouts. I had already been gone with Boy Scouts for 2 weeks to Virginia, so I was already pretty tired, and I went straight from there to Minnesota, and we got started. We first spent a week rebuilding a trail that had originally been built by the Civilian Conservation Corps in the 1930s, so that was pretty cool. And we were there to really dig in and appreciate the environment, and that was great. I was really excited about it, but I was also terrified because when you're going 100 miles doesn't seem like that much when you're driving it, but we were 100 miles from base camp, and we had to canoe that over the course of a week, which is pretty intense. We were also practicing some pretty hardcore leave no trace principles, which means we weren't using soap for 2 weeks, we weren't using deodorant for 2 weeks, we weren't using dish soap either for 2 weeks. We packed everything in with us, all of our food, all of our clothes, our tents, and we carried it in our canoes. It was pretty intense. I remember this was really just the hardest thing I'd ever done in my life. At one point they came and they let us fill out these postcards. They gave us postcards that you could pick which one you wanted and send it back to your family. And I remember picking this postcard with these miners on it, and I just wrote on the back we smell like these guys look. Which if you know me, that's a cry for help. I am sadder than I've ever been. So please save me. But yeah, so after a week of trail building, we started on the hiking on the portage and the canoeing trip, which is just super intense. I don't know if you guys have ever lifted a canoe on your shoulders. At this time I was smaller than I am now. I weighed 130 pounds, the canoes weighed 75. And you have to you lift them up and then you rock them up and put them on your shoulders and walk. But the heaviest thing was the food bags, because all the food was in there. We had 2 of them, Mondo and Condo, because we're super awesome. One portage in particular was this really short portage, but I had the food bag Mondo, he was the big one. And I just slipped on a rock. I was behind everybody else, of course, because everyone is always ahead of me. And I just landed on my back and I was turtling madly. And it took probably 20 minutes for me to flip over, get back up on my feet. And I was this is not going to be the thing that ruins me. But it was that was one of the hardest things I'd ever done up to that point. And then it just kept getting more and more intense. So that by the end of the week, our last big portage was a mile long, and I ended up with a canoe. And we were in this place called the Bear Trap, or on Bear River, and it's a series of portages that are intentionally left unkempt. These are portages that just no one takes care of, for people who like challenges. That's me. So this was the longest portage at the end of that whole stretch. I had the canoe, and at one point there was a giant log crossed over the trail, and so I had to get down and crawl with the canoe on my back under this portage. But really, I don't know. The point of this story is that 1, I don't belong in the wilderness, and 2, anything is possible, guys. Believe in yourself.